Hey friends, it's Allison here, jumping in real quick before you get into all the juicy details of today's episode. Did you know there is just one more week left to our 200th episode giveaway where you have the chance to win a full ride scholarship to the Better Belly Blueprint? This is the way to heal your gut so that you can poop daily, ditch acid reflux, and balance your hormones even when nothing else has worked. Here's how you can enter. Leave a rating and review on the Better Belly podcast on Apple Podcast or Spotify between now and May 29th. Take a screenshot of that rating and review, then go to betterbellytherapies.com/giveaway and fill out our 200th episode giveaway form. You will automatically receive an email with a code for $200 off the Better Belly Blueprint, which you're going to get as soon as you send in that form. And then a full scholarship winner is going to be announced on May 30th and messaged by email. If you win, you're going to win a full scholarship to the Better Belly Blueprint. And if you don't win, you can still get $200 off, which is 20% off of the Better Belly Blueprint if you join by May 31st at midnight. So go ahead and leave a rating and review. Get that giveaway form filled out at betterbellytherapies.com/giveaway, and you can finally end your constipation, acid reflux, and PMS for good. When Regina came to me, she was dealing with bloating and constipation whose improvement had plateaued with her current functional doctor. In today's podcast episode, listen in to my Unstuck Session with Regina, where we discover what her functional doctor was missing and hear us identify one major key to her health that could be behind all of her constipation, bloating, sugar cravings, PMS, and histamine problems. It's something you may have never heard of before: copper toxicity. If you have symptoms just like Regina's or are currently working with a functional doctor and not making progress in your health, then today's episode is for you. Hey friend, welcome to the Better Belly podcast. Do you want freedom from bloating and constipation? Do you find yourself up late at night Googling natural constipation remedies, causes for bloating, or recipes and exercises to help constipation? Are you frustrated with the mind game of trying to figure out what foods are helping or hurting your gut? Hey, I'm Allison, mom, wife, and functional gut health practitioner. At a young age, bloating and constipation were my constants. I didn't know what to do and wished I could just live a normal life focusing on my passions, my job, and my family. I was tired of abdominal pain that woke me up at night and wasting time and money on gut health remedies that just didn't work. Breakthrough moment: the functional medicine and osteopathic approach to gut health. In this podcast, you will find natural remedies for bloating and constipation, practical, doable belly exercises and massages, and debunk the myths about what really is causing your tummy problems. So toss out those laxatives and say goodbye to that embarrassing gas. Your gut health is calling. And just as a reminder, this information is not meant to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your own health practitioner before you make any changes to your health. Hey, Regina, can you hear me?
Hi, I can.
Awesome.
Oh, hi, how are
Hi, I'm doing good. It's so nice to meet you. I'm so excited for your call today.
you? Thank you. Yeah, thanks for meeting with me.
Yeah, I'm super jazzed. You sent us over a lovely amount of labs. It
I
seems,
did.
I'm guessing you're working with somebody else who, like maybe another functional practitioner before?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
awesome.
Um, yeah, I've been working with one for the last I guess actually 3.5 years now. But I guess over the last year I've had and she's really helped me in terms of just like my histamine issues
Okay.
and other things. And got me, I feel like, back to like a normal level for the most part. But over the last year, I feel like my symptoms have gotten a little worse. And over the whole process, I don't feel like my digestive stuff has really fully kind of been addressed. So that's why I reached out to you. And yeah, just hoping to I guess kind of correct that a little bit more.
Yeah, so fun. Awesome. Well, like I said, I got your labs. I looked through a bunch of them. I have lots of fun notes. And
Yeah.
how I think it'd be really good to do this call is me ask you questions and you just tell me some of the answers to things. And we're gonna
Mhm.
kind of whittle down some of my all the thoughts that I had to what I'm actually gonna recommend you move forward with. But I definitely have some thoughts based off of what you sent. And you're here to help
Perfect.
clarify things. Sound good?
Yes, sounds great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so just to reiterate, and so you know what I know, some of the top symptoms you are coming in with is bloating, constipation, acne, sugar cravings, and a fatigue, brain fog, painful periods slash PMS. Those are kind of big things that I saw repeatedly throughout your forms. That sound accurate?
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Cool. There's a histamine component, which histamine can cause a lot of those problems or be ramped up by a lot of those symptoms. Um,
Mm.
regarding the histamine, that was, something you had in your forms. Can you tell me some of what you have done to help your histamine problems that your practitioner had noted?
Yeah, so we did a lot of like healing the gut stuff over the last few years. So like addressing my leaky gut and getting rid of like parasites. And then I pretty much have removed all high histamine food from my diet for the last 3 years.
Okay.
And I'm still pretty much, on that diet. I will say, like, if I do have, tomato or alcohol, I might have that like a couple times a month. I don't have any big flare-ups anymore.
Okay.
I haven't really tried reintroducing, like, I guess if I were to do like a week full of just like normal food,
Right.
I would definitely get some like acne and be a little itchy and have
Okay.
some of my symptoms, but it's definitely not what it was a few years ago.
That's great. That's a great sign that you're, when it comes to histamine, there's two components, which is how much you're being exposed to, which might be diet, which we're all exposed to lots, usually in diet, but then there'd be like other pathogens, which could potentially ramp it up, and then how well you break it down. One of the things I didn't see, and maybe it did happen, did your practitioner ever try giving you anything called DAO or diamine oxidase?
Yes, I think so. I've been on like so many
I'm
pills.
sure. It
I think
yeah.
so.
Sometimes practitioners even give it in forms like desiccated kidney. Um, so I don't know, sometimes, like, if you've been given, like, a desiccated meat supplement, some holistic practitioners prefer to use that, though I typically don't. Um,
Uh,
if
I
that sounds familiar.
I mean, I take a histamine. It's called like histamine relief or something, and I think there's DO in that.
Right, sometimes it's like a
Um,
compilation where there might be
yeah, yeah.
quercetin and
Yes.
DAO.
Hmm.
Yeah, usually
That's
people
right.
quercetin is much more common. For some reason, DAO, I don't get as many people knowing if they've taken it or not, but you're on that currently then?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Because I just wanted to make sure there weren't any big sometimes people take DAO and they find it doesn't help, so they, like, don't even keep taking it, but that's a helpful little piece, to look at. Okay, so that was the DAO. I have so many questions. Let me just
Mhm.
pull up your labs even so I can just glance at them again.
Yeah.
And your labs here are from, at least your GI map is from January of this year. Was that your first GI map or have you had any others?
That I think was my third or fourth.
Okay. I see you have H. pylori on here. Have you done any H. pylori protocols?
Yes. I did like a 3 month. It didn't really address it though, like in terms of the constipation. I can't remember off the top of my head what I took for that. But I did do like an H. pylori like cleanse, I guess, of sorts for I think it was like around 3 months.
Okay. Has your practitioner said anything about the fact that it's back on your GI map and what they think
Oh,
about
so
that?
this was post. This is after those results.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So
Mhm.
since this H. pylori protocol, you've done an H. pylori, or since this GI map, you've done an H. pylori
Mhm.
protocol. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Was that the first time H. pylori showed up on your GI map? Because you said you've had a couple others.
Yeah, I think that was the first time H. pylori specifically.
Okay. Had you had a parasite pop up on it before since you mentioned parasite? Okay.
Yeah, I guess 2.5 years ago I had like three parasites.
Yowd. Wow.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
and I think that's honestly, I think I have a parasite right now because every summer, my vacation is I do like a family vacation at a lake. And so that's when my symptoms kind of got worse last year, was like right after that vacation. And I thought it was just because I hadn't been eating as well or something. But after a year, I was kind of like, okay, that's not, I don't think that's the case.
okay. Right. You're like, something stuck with me, maybe from that
Hmm.
vacation.
Yeah.
What has your practitioner said about that? I know your GMF didn't show a parasite, but have you talked with them about it, or did they give you any thoughts on that theory?
Yeah, so for the last like 45 days, I've been taking two different they're like supplements or herbs. I took a photo of them. It's nice, like a GI detox and then a biocidine.
Biocidin? Yep.
Cidin, yeah. And
Just those two?
just those 2.
Oh. Did you ever take anything? I have no idea what they would have given you. Parasitex or Para 1 or Para 2, Para 3, anything like these names
Mm-mm.
ever? No? Okay.
I don't think so.
I mean, typically, if somebody really truly had a parasite, I wouldn't just give them biocidin. It's just like a side thought. It is possible you have a parasite and like it's hiding in biofilm, and biocidin's great at breaking up biofilm. Are you familiar with that concept?
Hmm.
Biofilm, yeah. So it's like a protective wall that pathogens can create, which just makes it harder for us to scrub it out of the body with herbs, with just like any herb. Um, and I did wonder if maybe that was a component of what you had going on, just because you have enough things going on that suggest some chronicity to what you're dealing with, including both the blood work you sent, but also like your secretory IgA response on the GI map. Do you want me to show it to you? Would that be helpful? I can just tell you it's low for the one that you sent me.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what it might have looked like for other GI maps that you had? Like, was it high or has it always been low? I'll share this. You can see it right here. What I'm
Um,
pointing at, this one right here. I'm trying to
IgA. Yeah, no, I see. I don't remember if
okay.
I don't remember what that's looked like previously.
Um, would you have access to pull up your GI maps real quickly and share them with me? Because if you just like know you stored them in a super specific place, we can go and grab it and be super interesting. Because watching secretory IgA go high and low can give us another insight into what your immune system thinks it's been going through.
Mm,
Um, I think that there's more to talk about with you other than just pathogens. But before we get to that next part, I wanted to do a little bit of discussion specifically on pathogens. Um,
okay.
so
Let me look and see. It's like funky looking at my on my phone.
on your phone, I'm sure.
Like it doesn't always pop up is the problem.
Okay.
Let me see if
Oh,
I can pull it up
interesting.
here. Yeah. Um,
I mean, yeah, when I'm looking at this GI map, a lot of your overall bacteria, healthy bacterial colonies are low, which sometimes can just be that there's a bigger pathogen in your gut and it's terrorizing the other colonies. They basically can't thrive. And then your secretory IgA is low, which is your immune system of your gut. And that usually when that's low, I see that correlate with some level of chronic pathogens or very aggressive pathogens like mold, for example, which would have some strong ability to suppress the immune system. So that's sometimes when you see secretory IgA low. So it's either
okay.
saying, she's been sick for a long time. It's not a specific number when it says long, long as 6 months for some people, 2 years for others, or there's like a mold component. That's why I'm curious though, like, was it really high and then really low, or has it been low the whole time? Um,
I don't
I
think
did
I'm gonna be able to see it on my phone for some reason, but I did have a
okay,
mold issue 2 years ago when we moved into a new house. We found mold and then it was about a year of just like remediation and getting rid of all of that. So I definitely did a lot of like mold
okay,
protocols.
okay. You already did mold protocols. No organic acids test or like mycotoxin tests.
I did do a mycotoxin
Did do a
test.
mycotox. Did mold show up big time on there, or
Yeah, and well, we didn't even do a mycotoxin test initially because my
It was
symptoms
just
were so
assumed.
bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, I can't even like hold my head up in the
Oh
house.
no.
And
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it was pretty bad.
Oh,
And then I
yes.
did a mycotoxin test after that, and everything was pretty much cleared. So
And you felt like your symptoms from that went away.
yes, I mean, my
Okay.
symptoms were so severe, like I would sit down and I literally was like my body, I couldn't even like keep it up. So
Yes.
I felt, yeah, and I didn't have like the extreme fatigue and like brain fog that I had initially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna put down that conversational piece on pathogens. It sounds like the practitioner you're working with has definitely at least done a good amount of due diligence, without me seeing the exact protocols you've gone through
Mhm.
in lab testing. That's like no glaring holes in that. So what I want to move on to
Okay.
is your HTMA test. And I will
Okay.
make a side note before we fully jump in the HTMA. Your progesterone is low on your Dutch test that you sent me. And I don't know what your practitioner would have said or if you've heard me say it on the podcast, but anytime you see progesterone low especially for someone who's like definitely far away from being perimenopause, that we want to consider what is causing chronic inflammation. Um, so low progesterone is just the body protecting you and saying, "Hey, now's not a good time to get pregnant. We don't want to have high progesterone. You might not even be ovulating." And that can correlate with some of that painful periods, PMS. The other thing let me make sure that was your lab. Yeah. Looks like you're taking melatonin. Is that for sleep?
So yeah, I think it only has like a small amount of melatonin. But
Oh.
it's just like I forget what else is in it. It's like a sleep aid, but it's not a lot of melatonin. And I don't take it
Is
necessarily
it
every night.
5-HTP?
I don't know. Go up.
Because I was very curious at least when I saw your Dutch and I saw your melatonin's very high, which it was clear that you're supplementing it,
Oh, okay.
in some ways. When I looked at your Dutch test, it made me wonder why you were taking it and maybe how much and if there's anything else in it, because it could have impact some other ranges of things I
Okay.
saw here, but
Let me look. And so on the progesterone piece though,
yes.
that was the first time it was low.
Oh,
Previously it was really high.
really?
So she was wondering if maybe I just took it like the wrong day or something.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so I mean, just something to,
I will
uh,
keep that in mind. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. And then on the sleeping, let's see, sleep, sleep, sleep. Uh, I don't even see her listed anymore. I get it from her website, and
Mhm.
it's like
You don't
not.
have a bottle of it anymore?
I'm not at my house right now.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, I had to like come into my office last minute. So,
Okay.
but I will look at that when I get back.
Sure. Well, it's good to know I mean, I guess you're on something. If you remember anything like the brand or a keyword, I could probably pull it up on Google, so just interrupt me if anything comes to mind. Sound good?
Oh yeah, mhm. And I
Okay.
know the brand. It's just like her brand of
Oh. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's a white label. It's where the doctor creates their own supplement. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Cool. So your HTMA, let me just share screen with you so you can see it. I'll talk about probably the most obvious thing on here, and then we'll dig into the less obvious and see if that's been addressed by your practitioner. Aluminum, has she done anything with you regarding that? Made any recommendations?
No, I actually didn't show this to her. I just got it done on my own and
Oh,
then sent it to you. So yeah, we haven't talked about
sweet.
it.
Okay, cool. Aluminum, I've never seen anybody have aluminum cause all of their problems. But it's not your friend. It can cause constipation. It actually is like a pretty common thing that I see it impacting. If you use the most common sources of, and I'm gonna give you this like a piece of information that has the most common sources of aluminum, but I'm going to recommend you reduce aluminum exposure, and that's going to be deodorants with aluminum. I do have a deodorant I recommend typically is called Lume, and I'll give you a link to that in your protocols. But that's aluminum free. And a lot of my clients find it works pretty well for being an aluminum free
Mm.
deodorant.
I mean, but I
Aluminum.
think, oh,
Hmm?
sorry. I've used natural deodorant
Deodorants.
for the
Yeah,
past like
aluminum
four
free.
years. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it
Okay.
could still be an
Could
option, but
be
I haven't.
could be aluminum foil
Okay.
usage of any sort, cooking on aluminum foil, storing stuff in aluminum foil. Aluminum's in so many things, and it's considered quote unquote safe, and it's like light and flexible, and it's just useful, but it does get, like, if you drink out of LaCroix or any aluminum cans, that can get into your body, but, those are just, like, 3 big ones, but I have, a link that will bring you to a whole list of stuff that I'll be uploading to your portal, so you can check it out, reduce
Okay.
aluminum exposure, and then I have a binder called HMET binder, which I'll be uploading to your portal, and that will help bind aluminum, any extra that could be floating around, because also our body really likes it when things like parasites will willingly clean up all that heavy metal flowing around, and that can actually be one reason that one person's body or like your body might be maybe more susceptible to keep hanging on to parasites, if that's even the
Oh,
case going
okay.
on, is because there's heavy metals. And then your body's like, "Actually, we prefer the parasite having the heavy metal, and then we'll just keep the parasite."
Okay. All
Yeah, we
right.
they
Interesting.
there's been some research on, like, in fish studies primarily, since this is a lot bigger concern in fish, that the parasites in fish have, like, 10 plus times higher levels of heavy metals than the fish actually
Mm.
does.
Oh, wow. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
That's the more obvious one, just because you can kind of see it high. Some other thing to see here is your calcium is borderline high. So would recommend something called MK7 to pull calcium back into your bones. But again, um, oh, but the calcium, other than the MK7, another thing that can cause calcium to start going higher is low stomach acid. And H. pylori can cause low stomach acid. You did the baking soda test. You definitely failed it in the best way
Yeah.
possible, but you failed it. Yeah, it was like took you 12 minutes, it looks like, every single day
No,
to burp.
I
Just never did.
never,
You just put a
never
number
burped.
down.
Yeah, I just put,
12.
yeah.
Failure. And if you have low stomach acid, which I'm going to assume you do at this point, then you can't break calcium out of the food matrix very well. And then it makes it hard to actually absorb calcium. You'll like absorb it, but it's not bioavailable. So then it ends up in weird spots, and it can cause even like achy joints and muscles, stiffness. Um, Looks like those aren't your top symptoms, but if that is going on at all, brain fog, um, sometimes constipation, just because calcium can throw stuff off. The other thing is that if you don't have good calcium levels in the body, it can throw off your ability of your cells to interact with thyroid,
Oh,
T3
okay.
specifically. So even if you have good thyroid levels, if you don't have good calcium, bioavailable calcium, you can actually get symptoms of hypothyroidism, and I know that's on your radar just from the labs you sent me,
Mm,
and I think you specifically said you have hypothyroidism, correct?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
cool.
I
I
see.
mean, not cool, but I mean, at least
It's
we're all
light.
aware.
Yeah.
It's data. We're
Yeah.
all aware. Um, Phenomenal.
Okay.
So it's not just the MK7, which is good. We want to pull that calcium back into your bones and teeth, but it's the high stomach acid. So I'm going to give you a protocol to rebuild your stomach acid. And coincidentally, this is where we get into I was doing the big reveal here. Maybe it's not going to be a big reveal, but it sounds like it will be, since you haven't even seen this with your other doctor, which is you have a bunch of signs of hidden copper toxicity. And let me just
No.
show, I know. So first off, you on this lab, you are marked as something called a slow oxidizer, which means that you are currently metabolizing minerals very slowly. Usually means someone's we all tend to be like, you might tend to already be a slow oxidizer just in your biology, but then if you are burdened with a lot of chronic inflammation from any types of sources, but if it's chronic, then we all tend to become slow oxidizers, and it means you don't detox as quickly. So slow oxidizers typically never, if they have copper toxicity, they almost never show it. It looks actually low. And that's because of actually the same thing as what I described with calcium just now, that it's biounavailable. Copper, but it is toxic, causing toxicity to your body. One of the reasons that you can then say, well, like, if it's low, Allison, why do you think it might be high in my body? So this is a hair sample, right? It's like what's coming out of your body. So clearly the copper is like not coming out, but what is coming out is zinc, and zinc and copper are like magnets that have the same magnetic like pole, and so they push each other away. And they technically balance each other in this way in the body. But see how your zinc's like twice as high as your copper in the test? It's actually like
Yeah.
3 times as high.
Huh.
Just to do that. What I wanna that is like a very, very basic and quick sign. It's not the full story, but a very quick sign to immediately start thinking, is there hidden copper toxicity going on? And then strike number 2 against you is that copper and histamine are friends. So when I look at
Yes.
your health history and you're like, I got a histamine problem going on, there's some, and then we talk about all the pathogens, and you're like, you've kind of got a handle on a bunch of those, though there might be some room for improvement, but it's like no gaping holes there. But I'm like still trying to build up to like, is it copper? Is it copper? Is it copper? You know, that's actually the big thing, even probably more than the aluminum. Not that the aluminum's
Mm.
doing you any favors. So I'm actually going to share screen here with a different screen and show you a chart that I have on. That's actually not what I want to do. Here it is. I'm going to show you a chart on copper toxicity when you're evaluating the HTMA. Hey friend, Allison popping in real quick to tell you about some amazing news I have for you. Until August 24th, you can enter to win a full scholarship to my online course, The Better Belly Blueprint. The Better Belly Blueprint is my online course that teaches you how to end bloating and constipation just like my clients have. In the Better Belly Blueprint, you get to learn how to order functional lab kits that get sent straight to your home, interpret those labs, and create your own powerful, customized health plan that is unique to you so that you can end your bloating and constipation for good. If you are ready to ditch the endless food restrictions, doctor visits, and frustration of not knowing what to do to end your bloating and constipation, then the Better Belly Blueprint is for you. And to celebrate hitting 100K in downloads for the Better Belly podcast, I'm giving you the chance to win a full scholarship to the Better Belly Blueprint. There are 4 steps to enter. Number 1, leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify between now and August 24th. Number 2, take a screenshot of that rating and review. Number 3, go to betterbellytherapies.com/giveaway and fill out our 100K giveaway form. And number 4, the winner will be announced on August 31st. And if you don't win the contest, I still have a special gift for you. You'll receive this gift in your inbox as soon as the giveaway is over. So there is literally no way to lose. And if you missed any of that, just head over to our show notes and I have every step that you will need to enter and win a full scholarship to the Better Belly Blueprint. So just head on over to our show notes for this episode and get winning. Now, back to our podcast episode. What you're looking for is, this is the assessment. And so I have marked out for you all the things you're positive on that are signs of hitting copper toxicity. So calcium should be above 50, you're at 62. Sodium would be below 12, you're at 6, so half as much. Potassium would be at 4, you're at, or less than 4, you're at 3. Copper would be above or below these 2 ranges, but below 1.5, and you're at 0.8. So again, half that. Zinc would be above 20, you're at 21. So these ratios, there's a bunch of things saying you probably have copper toxicity, at least from just your HTMA. So what we're going to do in addition to this, here's where I'm going to let you talk. I know it's a lot of information, so I want to try and give you some context. To hone in even a little bit more on the copper toxicity would be to ask, just do you of some signs or symptoms, health history that might point to even more possible reasons why you might have copper toxicity. And some of these would be, for example, have you had a copper or hormonal IUD ever, or been on birth control? Okay. Because those always, those set women up to have increased copper toxicity. The other thing is that the low stomach acid will set you up for low zinc in the body. And then that sets copper up to then become dominant. So it could be just like slowly over the years, you become more and more copper dominant. Like if you've been slowly losing zinc due to having low stomach acid, and we don't know maybe you got the H. pylori from your husband or partner. Could be that you've had it for a long, long, long time, but maybe with some of the other health issues, it's just become stronger. We're
Mm.
gonna assume you dealt with it, just for the sake of this conversation. We're gonna assume the H. pylori isn't there, and you can start a what's it called? My rebuilding your stomach acid protocol. But
Okay.
that will building up the zinc will help start to cause the copper to reveal itself if there's some hidden copper toxicity going on.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Another thing to
Okay.
consider would be any have you ever lived in a home that's between 50 to 100 years old?
Yeah, actually, I moved here from San Francisco 2 years ago, and the house that I lived in was like definitely over 100 years old.
Okay. So the older the house and then often like 50 to 100 years, they used a lot of copper piping. Older than that still can be copper piping. When it's old, it just gives it even more opportunity too for that piping to like be leaching. That's the house you currently live in then?
No, I moved, well, the house that I live in now is like 60 years old, so
Okay. And that but
still
yeah, between
old.
50 to 100.
Yeah.
Basically, it's possible your previous house or maybe your current one is leaching copper from the piping. That's really honestly one of the most common things I see. And so I am going to recommend a company for you to just get your tap water tested with. And I have a water pitcher and an under the sink water filter and a whole house water filter you can look at. You actually really need the under the sink. Sorry, scratch the whole house. You need the under the sink water filter if you don't do a water pitcher because the main problem would be internal house piping, and a whole house water filter only filters water coming from the city to you or from the well to you. But then the problem would be the water coming from that filter. If you had a whole house filter to the tap water,
Oh, I
that would
see.
have all the copper. So you
Okay.
definitely want it to be like what we call point of source
Mm.
filter. So it could be just a pitcher, which I have recommendations. One's called Clearly Filtered water pitcher, and they even have like if you really are big into drinking water on the go, they have like a mug, not a mug. What is it called? A little container that like filters the water. Um, and then
Bottle, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
my tap score is the provider of the water filtration system,
Okay.
and they that would be one way you could see like if you have copper in your water and maybe you don't have any in this current home and then it's fine. And then you just move on and you don't need to filter your water. Maybe it was just in the last home, or it could be the last home and this home, or it could be just this home. But being that was intriguing to me that you said in the last 3 years things got worse. So then I was thinking, did she move to a new home in the last 3 years and there was copper piping? Did she, get exposed
Hmm.
to something in the last 3 years, like new home and it was mold, which that clearly happened. Your vacation clearly sounds like you've been thinking about, like, what
Yes.
happened in the last 3 years, you know? Um,
Yeah. I did develop my histamine intolerance, um, I guess a year after I moved into the like San Francisco house, which was pretty old,
okay,
which is the oldest house I lived in.
okay.
But I'll definitely, yeah, check the water out. I have a Berkey, but I don't know if it specifically filters out copper.
Oh, Berkeys are so good, but I have never directly looked at that. Do you wanna look at it real quick right now? I can just let's see,
Oh,
Berkey,
sure.
they usually I'm imagining that they, um, have a list. A lot of, like, the water filters that are super proud of what they filter try to provide for you a list of what they filter. Um
Yeah. And
And
I
a
know,
lot of the janky ones are like, "We filter chlorine," and that's like it, and
yeah.
then they don't really tell you anything else, or they don't tell you anything at all. That's a huge sign.
Mm,
Bad
yeah.
water filter if it doesn't like but we'll see. What does it address? And see, it's like one of the things on their homepage.
Yeah.
Chemicals, uh, inorganic test results, maybe. Sounds like that's what it would be. Uh Cool. This is what it should look like if you want a good filter. Good Berkeys, yay. How long have you been using a Berkey?
Like maybe 8 months. So for the first year that I lived at this house, I didn't have a Berkey.
Okay. So this is probably great. You can still filter your tap water. If you're like super, like I'm kind of like this, as I am able to, funds wise, I really want to know, like, what am I dealing with? And so I'm not just like unnecessarily
Mhm.
filtering something. So like, if you want a really good, lab test for your tap water and you're just super curious, do I even need to be filtering it? Do that test. But definitely good that you're using the Berkey now, but that doesn't change the fact that you have copper in your body and your body's not easily getting rid of it. So you will want to actively, even if you're not actively getting exposed to large amounts of it anymore, it's
Mhm.
still in the body. So
Yeah.
you'll have to do something to encourage it out of the body, which we have a copper protocol for you.
Okay, awesome.
Which I'm actually going to talk you through a little bit before we hop off, but that was the big thing. That was the big thing that I was like, whoa, if no one's dealt with her copper toxicity yet, this could be a really good find.
Okay. Yeah, no, I've never heard that. And yeah, now that you're saying that, I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, that makes sense why I like randomly developed this histamine intolerance like a year after moving and then it's kind
And
of
that
like,
it's like kind of ongoing where we're
yeah.
typically in a really good ideal situation unless there's like a methylation problem, which even that can be supported. You shouldn't need to be on a low histamine diet. Like it's really should be a temporary thing until you find the
Mhm.
source of the histamine and you address your body's ability to break down histamine and like kind of leaky gut and all that jazz. Like the low histamine diet is not a forever diet. It's like there's something's being missed if it's getting on that level of like I've been doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. So of
Yeah.
course I'm glad it right now it makes you feel better, so that's good. And it minimizes your symptoms, but it's symptom management, not symptom solving. So
Right, right. I will say though that like the on the constipation front, like I feel like I've probably been like that my entire life. Like that didn't happen
sure.
necessarily right after
Yeah.
I moved. So I'm sure this is contributing to that too, but like
Yeah, that would, and that would like if I were working with you, what I would do is say, okay, we're gonna address what we know how to find, like we've seen the copper and deal with that. And if the histamine problem goes away, but the constipation's still there, then start to talk about like other potential things going on and start to strategize about other lab testing. But because when you have like lots of fruit in your basket, essentially, like
Mhm.
you want to just pick one to deal with and then see, wow, if I deal
Mhm.
with all this, because you have hypothyroidism. So like that can cause constipation. Did you have that as a kid? But like maybe you were eating gluten as a kid. And so that could like irritate hypothyroidism. And there's like things you're not doing now, but maybe you now have the copper toxicity,
Right,
and
right.
so it's like, maybe that's maybe you fixed everything else that would have caused your childhood constipation, but like you have a new
Mhm.
thing, but if you dealt with the new thing, it'd all go away. So that's
Yeah,
kind of where it's like, "Hey, look, you may only have one thing left. We don't know." Um,
hopefully.
just so you know, like I always feel that way, but I still feel like, I'm always looking for like the little other stuff. Like it's okay to
Yeah.
we're
I'm like,
all
I don't know
works.
what else I can do, but yeah, this is super helpful. I do feel like I'm
Yes.
like, I've just tried everything, but I
You've
have,
you've definitely you can I mean, I would give you the badge of you've tried stuff, like and most people who end up being engaging with Better Belly podcast or Better Belly therapies, like you're not like, this is my first thing I'm trying. Like,
right, right, right,
no,
yeah.
no. So I do want to mention one other thing to you.
Okay.
Talk about one other thing, which is on your Dutch test, your
Mhm.
HVA here was very high. Did your doctor talk with you about this? No, yeah,
Mm-mm,
okay,
no.
cool. Well, not cool, but
Yeah.
so I've actually never seen it this high. So typically, so
Um,
HVA and VMA, most of the time in my clinical experience, what I see, if I see this HVA, see how it's 13.9 and then your VMA is 4.7. If it's a 2-to-1 ratio, that's a very common sign or symptom of C. diff. You might have like chronic low grade C. diff. And that's a pathogen that likes to hang out in the stomach, or not the stomach, the small intestines. We can talk about I don't know if you have C. diff yet, so I actually but the way this looks, because you're not at a 2-to-1 ratio, you're closer to a 3-to-1 ratio. It makes me wonder if this is like the result of medication, perhaps, because there's different
um,
medications or supplements that could also skyrocket this. but I've just never seen it this high. So I want to know, do you know if you would have been on quercetin at the time when you did this?
Yeah, I take a lot of that.
You're like, I take
Yeah.
so much. Okay. That could have been it because I looked at this. I'm like, she's got histamine. Maybe there's some quercetin. You're not on any
Mm,
like, are you on any antidepressants?
mm-mm.
Um, that was another thing that can sometimes be common. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think.
I don't drink caffeine. I
Yeah,
don't,
those would be, yeah, everything else kind of are less common scenarios.
but
So,
I take probably, yeah, 6 pills that contain
oh,
quercetin a day. So,
right. Yeah. I mean, so this could be just the quercetin. Maybe that's why
okay.
your doctor didn't mention anything. They're like, you're on quercetin.
Yeah.
But I will say, it is a lot of HVA. I hope your body's balancing it all right. This is basically just it's a converted, metabolized version of dopamine. And
Oh,
you want your
interesting. Okay.
dopamine and your norepinephrine to have a good ratio with each other. Especially this is like norepinephrine metabolites and or dopamine, and then norepinephrine is the one I'm pointing at here, the VMA. And if you actually genuinely have too much dopamine and it's not balancing out with your epinephrine, then you could have all these symptoms here, which I just grabbed for you. Insomnia, which I thought maybe you're having problems with because of the melatonin, agitation, hyperactivity, mania, hyperfocus, like you really like to work or you get like really deep involved in something, high
Mhm.
stress and anxiety, as well as possible like tendencies towards anything like addiction, like behavior, cravings, pleasure seeking, like um,
Mm.
you really like adrenaline rushes or pleasure seeking could be very, very different for lots of people. Chocolate,
Yeah.
sex could be all sorts of stuff. Because you're
Mm.
looking to maintain high levels. So I don't know, like does this
Interesting.
list here like resonate at all?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely I don't feel like I have insomnia. I started taking the sleeping thing years ago because my cortisol was really off and it was like impacting my blood sugar at night. I was waking up, whatever.
Yes,
But otherwise, I
yes.
don't feel like I have that. I don't feel like I'm super hyperactive or agitated or have like, I mean, hyper focus. Like, I guess when I'm like doing one of my hobbies, I can do that like for the day. But I
Like
don't
good
know.
focus, good focus.
Yeah. I'm definitely not someone who's like, oh my gosh, like I haven't like showered today or something. Like I feel like and
Yeah.
I mean, chocolate, yeah, like it was giving me really bad cystic acne, but so I
Okay.
stopped eating it maybe like, um, I don't know, like 9 months ago, but probably before that, I probably was like, oh, I need to eat it every day,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
having those kinds of cravings and stuff. So
Okay.
I can though definitely take less of the quercetin than I currently am. I don't actually need to take six of
Well, if
it.
your HbA was high just from quercetin, it's actually not a problem unless it was
Oh, okay.
driving a dysfunction elsewhere in the body. And
Okay.
this, unfortunately, the markers I'm showing you doesn't tell me that part.
Okay.
But if there's any reason C. diff was driving these markers being thrown off, then C. diff can cause its own symptoms, and it would show up on like an organic acids test, which
Mm,
is also a good test for mold. It's different than a mycotox. It has different pros and cons, but that's just like throwing that out there. Maybe talking to your doctor, like C. diff, oat. C. diff can drive anxiety, difficulty losing weight, hormone imbalance, sometimes diarrhea, but sometimes constipation. Is diarrhea? You flip flop probably right with the histamine problem?
a little bit. Mostly I only get that when I'm on my period.
Uh
But
huh.
I mean, I
Very
feel like
hormone
all the
driven.
symptoms you just listed, I feel like I have
Okay.
so maybe that's possible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
mm,
So I mean, some stuff I had prepared. I'll share screen with
okay,
you for this thing to wrap us up. Let me show you what I had prepared, and we can talk
okay,
about what you're gonna get, so it's not confusing or overwhelming or
okay.
irrelevant. Because I know we just talked about it a lot. Okay, so this is just like a draft, a bunch of protocols that I might recommend for you. So we have your rebuild your stomach acid and zinc levels. As long as you've gotten rid of H. pylori, this is safe. Because if H. pylori is still there and you build stomach acid, it could make the zinc or the H. pylori just grow a ton. And so,
Okay. How
you
do I
know,
know, like,
I usually look for symptom change or improvement. Like
mhm,
if there was acid reflux, is there no acid reflux? Um, Sometimes the worst like thing you'll have to try is other than retesting. I usually don't retest with people because I feel my H. pylori protocol is 1 month and I have like a ridiculous like I don't think I've ever had anyone not it has always worked for people except for the one time it worked, but then the person re-got it from their spouse who didn't do the test and kissed them. So
oh
for example,
gosh.
do you have a partner, right? Oh no,
Mm-mm,
you
well,
didn't. I thought I picked that up in our conversation.
oh,
Okay.
sorry. I live with my
But
sister, so yeah.
okay. If
Mhm.
you have somebody you ever want to date or kiss and they have H. pylori, they can give it to you. So if you are in a relationship or want to be in a relationship and you're like
Okay.
really don't want to have that, be like, do you have acid reflux? Do you have indigestion? Do you have bloating? Take some H. pylori.
Okay.
I use something called Matula tea. I'd honestly be happy to upload this and just so you can see the protocol
Okay.
and compare it. I would
Okay.
say I like to assume the best of most protocols and assume that you don't have it. I just can't speak for the protocol that your practitioner gave you.
Yeah.
But I am going to recommend if you're not on any digestive enzymes, your elastase was low in your GI map. So some digestion support, which you honestly might already be on. So that would be redundant if you've already done it. Um, a leaky gut support. This is my protocol. Sounds like you're not on caffeine. If you needed a boost of energy instead of having caffeine, this would be something you could do. Licorice root. Are you on anything with called calcium D-glucarate?
Mm-mm, no.
Because you're on your GI map, you had a high level of beta glucuronidase. Oh, no, that was you actually your beta glucuronidase is fine. Sorry. I think I must have been thinking about a different client. I apologize.
No, that's okay.
Okay. Yeah. So ignore that. Sweet. Move
Okay.
on. HMET binder. This is going to help you with that aluminum and also the copper. It's going to bind that heavy metal.
Mm,
Megamucosa and L-glutamine can just help rebuild the gut lining and support your immune system while it's down. Here's that my tap score. Um, filter or tap water test. Here's the
mm,
water pitcher that can filter copper well. And this is an under the sink water filtration system. And this is
okay.
information on investigating sources of aluminum.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then, oh, yes, I want to save. Okay. So that would be leaky gut. So that would be the second protocol you would do. You can just layer them, just begin them one by one. Don't start them all at once.
Okay.
And anything you have already are sort of doing, like digestive enzymes, if you're doing that, you can just ignore what I
I
said.
have them. I'm just really lazy. For whatever reason, they're like the one pill that I don't necessarily remember always because I do like fasting and stuff too. So it's just like more
Sure,
common, but
sure. I will say if you have histamine problems, you want to digest everything as well as you can. And if you are like maybe your stomach acid's low, and maybe that's like going to be the main thing is boosting your stomach acid again. But like
mhm,
your digestive enzymes, your pancreatic enzymes were low on the GI map. So unless they're
mhm,
better now, because I know it's, the GI map, you've done some stuff, unless they're better, you're still not digesting optimally. And that sets you up for histamine problems if
okay.
you're already
Yeah,
having it.
that's good to know.
Yeah, so just to feel an extra oomph, do something.
All right.
But if it's a war between the digestive enzymes and the stomach acid and zinc, do the stomach acid and zinc. You need the zinc. You need the stomach
Okay.
acid. Um, MK7, which I talked to you about, lowering your calcium, magnesium because you're showing signs that you're magnesium deficient. See this right here?
I take so much magnesium. I was like shocked that that was so
You're
low.
yeah, you're probably just burning through it. Like,
Okay.
or it could be the form it's in. Most doc knows sounds like you're with like kind of holistic doctor. If it's like
Mhm.
malate or oxide,
It's a, well, I was taking, or I'm now taking the magnesium like citrate one.
citrate
Is
helps
that?
you poop, but it doesn't absorb into the body very much.
Yeah, before that, she just had me take that over the last like 30 months or 30 days. But previously I was taking the glu glucate one. Glucate, is that it?
Glucarate or yeah,
Glucate?
glycinate.
I
I was
think.
like,
Yeah.
glycinate's not bad. Yeah. I mean, and it
Yeah.
depends. Like, I don't know how many milligrams. I would recommend you be, as long as it doesn't cause you to poop too much, because sometimes too much magnesium will do that of any sort.
Mhm.
But 1,000 milligrams, like 500 in the morning, 500 in the evening ish,
Mhm.
would be where I'd like therapeutically recommend you to be at, which is what this dosage is over here, for the supplement. So, um,
Which is what I do take. So
okay.
I
But
get
if it's
that.
citrate, you don't absorb it into your body. It helps you poop.
Okay. Okay.
It's really like a great pooping mechanism.
Hmm. I'm like, and
And
even then, it's not really helping that much.
yes, it can be. Well, here's the other thing. Magnesium works with potassium and sodium, which you're also deficient in. And
Okay.
so if sometimes magnesium won't even budge the dial if you're not addressing your sodium and potassium deficiencies, which it sounds like you might not be. So I gave you two options. You can do something called a potassium shot, which is like the kind of the cheapest way to do this, and then an adrenal cocktail. It's in capsule form, so it's the tastier way to do it. If you don't want to have to taste like basically loose salt and like water in like the shot. I
Hmm.
don't mind it, but some of my clients are like, this is the worst thing I've ever had to do. Then get the adrenal cocktail and do that
Okay.
instead. But do one of these, the
Okay.
potassium shot or the adrenal cocktail. And then I do potassium, we absorb really well through food. So I did give you some documents on if you are really into like recipes for like nutrition. Some people ignore them. I'm actually one of those people. I'd rather take a supplement. But if you really like recipes, I gave you some
No,
um,
thank you.
for potassium broth
I
and a
like broth.
potassium
That's
smoothie.
great.
Okay, okay,
Perfect.
cool. So yeah, summary from this section: do take digestive enzymes, do
Okay.
take potassium, and you might notice yourself pooping a lot more and like the best
Okay.
way possible when you start taking the potassium and sodium. Like it can make a big difference. Um, so really phenomenal. Really love that potassium shot. Here's your H. pylori protocol, which you might not even need to do. I will upload it. You'll see it. It's a month-long protocol, and
Would it hurt to do? Like, say I, over the last 30 months or 30 days, got rid of it, like, and I did this protocol.
I wouldn't be concerned. No.
Okay.
The big difference is this motility. This is the powerhouse. It still has biocidin, which you're already on, oliverex, which helps round out the biocidin, gives it more power, and then the motility comes in and pink. It actually was developed and like patented by a doctor of osteopathy who was traveled the world to try and find a herbal way to get rid of H. pylori, and this is what he found. It comes from Madagascar and South Africa.
Interesting. And like, okay, so you're saying H. pylori can't come through like water, right? That's just
Not
like,
typically, yeah, yeah. It might if you went to like a developing country that has like different hygiene, like lower hygiene practices, you might get it from like their kitchen if they're like not cleaning
okay.
stuff or like things like that. But it's because it's like much more prevalent in developing countries. But no, usually the most common thing I see is kissing.
Okay. All right. Which I don't think anyone, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
No, I
So
guess you just never know, but
you never
okay.
know. But if you went to a third world country like Thailand or Mexico, and that's not third world, developing, and then went to a street market vendor, sometimes that it's like 85% prevalent in developing countries,
Oh, really?
and it's
Well,
35% in America.
interesting. Okay.
So a lot of people are like, I'm going to Mexico. I'm like, don't get H. pylori.
I've never been to Mexico. I want to go, but yeah, I don't think I got it there.
Okay, cool. And here's your copper toxicity. This is actually your biggest one because a lot of people know so little about it. I really kind of hit what causes copper toxicity, a lot of options here.
Mm.
Healthy roles of it because it is good for us, but then symptoms of like copper toxicity, headaches, constipation, nausea, which can also be a histamine problem, all sorts of, hormonal problems. So it's just not fun. Um, let's see here. So I do kind of talk about here's what I will talk you through in terms of copper. And then we'll finish out. When you deal with copper, you don't want to deal with it head on. The first thing you want to do is address these big four minerals right here: magnesium, sodium, and potassium. And actually, you want to balance calcium too. That's why this protocol is numbered in your protocols
Mm.
number five,
Okay.
because you want to start you want to start giving yourself MK7 to pull the calcium down. You want to start building up your stomach acid to appropriately start pulling nutrients out of food. You want to start giving yourself more magnesium and sodium and potassium and balance these first. And you'll actually see right here, it says balance the big four. That's what you want to do. Balance your big four: calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium. You could do that for 3 months and do nothing else, and your body will start pushing out copper.
Okay.
Um,
So when would I know, or does it say in here like when I feel like I've
Yeah, let's talk about
sufficient?
that. I'm going to talk you through this step so you see what's in it. You want to
Okay.
reduce and eliminate any current copper exposure, which is what I was talking about with like filtering, testing your tap water, filtering it, just making sure that's good. You're not on birth control or an IUD. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Use a supportive heavy metal binder, which is the HMET binder in your protocols. So we've talked through these. You want to support your adrenal function via sodium and potassium support, which we talked about. Because your adrenal glands have to be strong to get rid of copper, because your adrenal glands create something called ceruloplasmin, and that helps you bind and detox copper.
Okay.
I talk about doing a pathogen protocol, which we're assuming you're addressing your pathogens appropriately, support digestion and regular bowel movements, which gets to the digestive enzymes, and the potassium and sodium, which I think is going to help you poop better. Support liver and gallbladder, which I guess I didn't give you a liver protocol, but I could. Just to make you might, I'm assuming, hopefully your practitioner is having you do something
Yeah.
for your liver, like milk thistle, alpha lipoic acid, and acetylcysteine. But because the liver creates bile, and bile binds to copper and helps you detox it, same with aluminum, coincidentally.
Mm.
And then once you've done all this, usually for about 3 months, then you can start taking vitamin C, and basically all the supplements that are included in this protocol right here.
Okay.
So
Should I stop taking vitamin C right now or when I get to
I'm
the
guessing you're already taking it, if you're
Mm-hmm.
asking. If
Yeah.
you're already taking it, you're fine. But I do have some clients who are so sensitive. So copper can be detoxed by taking high quantities of vitamin C. And some of my clients are so backed up with copper that vitamin C makes them like explode. But
Oh,
if you're
really?
already taking it, you're fine. You're fine. Don't
Okay.
worry about it.
Okay.
Um, and that's kind of, you want to do this and then retest the HTMA every 3 months to watch. So this test every 3 months.
Okay.
I will let you know, I don't know where you got the HTMA. There's different places people get it, but if you are in our like working with us, you can get this HTMA test for $55. Um,
Oh, cool.
so some people, like I've gotten clients who are like, I bought it from this random person for $200. I was like, that's not necessary, but they're like upcharging you, but I don't know what you got it for.
Yeah.
So
I think I got it for like $100. So,
yeah, they were upcharging you a little. So it
okay.
depends on if like that bothers you or not. But um it's possible you could feel worse when you do the mold, like the copper thing, but it sounds like your body's handling detoxing pretty well. Some other things you could do is like a sauna, if you have access to a sauna at your gym, or if you can like buy a portable sauna, like a sauna bag or something for your house. And then a
Mhm.
coffee enema and push catch also really, really helps just pull copper out of your body.
Okay.
So I hope that doesn't sound like too much, but
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
these calls are intense and awesome. So,
Yeah.
okay, so that is it. That is what I'm going to recommend. You're going to see that uploaded to your portal shortly, and
Okay.
you'll have all of those things that I recommended. Do you have any questions for me before we finish out?
Well, thank you so much. This is so helpful and enlightening. I guess as like a follow-up. So I'll start the protocol, the first protocol.
Yes.
And then can we do like a follow-up or something like in 3 months, or like what would your recommendation be in terms of just like um making sure, or is it longer, I guess, depending on it, how each protocol,
Yeah.
how long each
You,
protocol.
I mean, just like you did this Unstuck session, if you want to, purchase another one of those in 3 months, I'd say it'd be great if you like had your HTMA test again.
Yeah.
So that'd be like 4-ish months, because what you'll do is you'll start your protocols. There'll be like maybe a week or two to like get your supplements and start stuff. And then you'll do it for 3 months. Then you'll take the lab, and then you have to wait for the lab results to come back. So that's about 4 months for us, for our
Okay.
purposes. And you could do that. Um,
Okay.
My Better Belly Blueprint will be opening up, and there's like group coaching calls included in that. And then you'll have the opportunity, if you join that, to join the Better Belly membership, which I'm going to be sharing and announcing more of in the coming weeks.
Exciting. Okay.
Which is just like a really low monthly membership fee where you have access to group coaching calls and like ordering labs through us and getting like the lowest prices we have access to. So just keep your ears out. That will be available through the Better Belly Blueprint if you've ever wanted to do that. And that Better Belly Blueprint's like opening in September, but otherwise you could always get an Unstuck session. So kind of got different options.
Okay. That's great. That's perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then, I think that's it. I mean, I guess the one thing that was on my mind is I'm headed back to this same vacation that I went on last year.
Okay.
Next week. And so I'm like, well, should I just expect to get a parasite like every summer? Like, I don't know, or 1 or 3 or whatever.
Yeah. Most parasites that I'd be concerned about would be pets. So like if you're showing up and somebody's showing up with their dog, don't let the dog lick you, or your coffee cup or something. And then, water. So it'd be like the lake that you guys would swim in. Like if you want to be super careful, you could just not get in the lake. And that would be the 2 things I would do if you're just like, I don't want a parasite. Avoid animals, horses, licking you, or, dogs and stuff like that.
Those. I'm like, I feel like I would be like disowned from my family if I didn't water ski every summer. So I feel like I have to go in the water. But should I just do another parasite protocol?
Yeah, you can. And that is something like there's some practitioners out there. I'm actually encountering more and more of them as I do parasite research. Some people just say like there's this one doctor, he says if you have a pulse, you have a parasite. And his approach is more like you want to be in balance with your parasites, and sometimes you become out of balance with parasites when you have heavy metals, when you have mold and other bigger pathogens, when you have histamine problems and leaky gut and food sensitivities, and then the parasite goes crazy and it becomes unruly. And so like even someone like him, I've heard other practitioners say just like once a year, do a very small parasite cleanse. Like it doesn't even have to be like some parasite cleanses are like super heavy duty. Some people literally do like a full moon parasite cleanse, which is like 3 days before a full moon and 3 days after. Now, I'm not including that in your protocols. I would focus on the copper, stay focused, but that would just be like a side piece of information. And something we could talk about in the future is like, what does a 6-day, parasite cleanse look like if you're just like trying to do some maintenance or something like that.
Okay. For that, sorry, as a last question, my aunt was like, you should just take like diatomaceous earth or whatever and just like drink that. Is that like something that's normal for a parasite cleanse, or is that not necessarily recommended?
I honestly haven't used it a ton, so I don't have a lot of clinical experience with it. Like, oh, that worked really well for a client, or it did nothing. I definitely see a lot of good talk about it, but I would not just do it for a parasite cleanse. It's more like a binder and a probiotic. It's like kind of has like different properties in it, like in its effects. But I don't think I've ever seen it used solo. It's usually used with other things.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that's helpful. All right. Well, thank you so much, Allison. I really appreciate this. This is so helpful. And I will get started on the like 10 protocols that I have.
And filter out anything that you're like, I've already done that. You can talk to your other practitioner and show her what I recommended. And like, am I already doing this? Like you can get their opinion, but I just want you to have stuff. So it's not vague. You're not like, what did you want me to do? So
no, it's really informative. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Great. It was great talking with Regina, and I hope everything goes well, and maybe I'll get to see you and talk with you again in a couple months.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Thanks again. Bye.
Bye. Hey friend, I hope you loved this episode. If you've been a fan for a while or newly loving this podcast, can you do me a favor? Drop into Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. When you leave a review, you do so much. You help me know you're listening. You can tell me what you're loving so I know what to make more of. And you help others by boosting this podcast so other people like you can find the podcast too. I mean, it's a win-win-win, right? So if you want a way to pay it forward, just go to Apple Podcasts or click the link in my show notes and leave a rating and review. And if you want some more free stuff, just head over to my free Facebook group, betterbellytherapies.com/Facebook, and you can get access to all of my free support for you, including some Facebook group exclusive stuff like my podcast episode vault, where you can search the Better Belly podcast by topic and find exactly what you need to expedite your healing. I cannot wait to see you in there. Catch you guys next week.